Welcome to Policy and Profit, the podcast for ambitious insurance agents and agency owners who want to build predictable, profitable businesses without chasing bad leads or begging for referrals. And did you know the average insurance agent makes less than 52 measly $1,000 a year, and over 90% give up in their first year? The top 1% doing anything with their license are making 5 to 10 times as much selling the exact same policies, earning anywhere between $150,000 and $500,000 a year. And it's not luck, my dear friend, it's leverage. The secret is they are following a system to generate fresh hot leads, book appointments, and close policies like clockwork. I've put together a no-cost blueprint just for that system that shows you how to add $5,000 to $15,000 in additional monthly income in under 90 days that you can access for free. Just go to writemorepolicies.com/blueprint or click the link in the description. Today's guest is Keith Collins, who I've recently connected with, and he is looking to make the lives better of anyone that he talks to about our industry. With that being said, Keith, welcome to the show. Tell me something you believe is the key to succeeding in insurance sales that most agents completely overlook.
I would say half of it is longevity, right? Ooh, sorry about that.
Bless you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's sticking through it, making sure that you're implementing, because you learn more from mistakes than theory, right? When you're going through it, just acting and making those mistakes. When it comes down to it, if you're truly passionate about this business, you're going to learn from it, implement systems, like you said, leverage, and make sure you have good leads systems and good people on your team in the long run.
Yeah, something that's completely overlooked. I'm a firm believer there's pretty much only four functions of any business sales process. It's essentially like what all the marketing and everything should be around. It's like you got lead generation, Keith, right? You got to generate cold bodies to sell something to. You have to say something to them. So how do you convert those leads at what percent at what price points? So you have lead generation, lead conversion, customer ascension. How do you make the customers worth more to you, buy more times? And how do you get customer retention? Only four functions of any business. You get people, you sell them stuff, you sell them more expensive stuff more times, and you keep them with you longer. That's never been taught to me in the insurance industry. I don't know about you. I had to go do a lot of digging and a lot of falling on my face, like I'm sure you have. And you mentioned something very unique. You said failure over theory, and I think a lot of people that I will agree. Most people think they are afraid of failure, but what they are really afraid of is being seen as a failure. Because what would that say about me, right? If I get up, Keith, and everyone sees me fall on my face, well, that means you're a human, my dear friend. So talk to us more about that. How can they kind of learn from their failure? And rather than look for what I call a definitive answer, how can they take failure as directional feedback?
Oh man, that's a great question. When it comes down to it, I would say I was talking to a producer last night, right? And so an agency owner that's hiring staff, and he's like, "Here's what I'm going to do different in my next batch." And and it's recognizing too. A good book is called The Gap and the Gain.
Yep, Benjamin
When
Hardy.
yeah, when you're looking at it, you got to realize the progress you made, and like, okay, how did I 10x from where I was? How am I going to 10x to where? Because I think so many of the high achievers are focused on, okay, here's my next 10x, right? Here's where I'm going to go to. Here's how I'm going to hit my goal. And it really takes some recollection of like, okay, here's the progress I've already made. And here's, I call it model, then modify. Really just take what's been successful and maybe you duplicate it, maybe you do modify it a little bit, but really diving deep into KPIs are big in my world, right? So, and I say the right KPIs because I think so many people track things that are false KPIs, right? Like we probably talk about
Views.
quote.
I've got 5,000 views. Cool. How much money did you make?
Right. Well, and you and I both know in like social media, if you have 5,000 views, if one of them watched you past 30 seconds, okay, I've really had one person that was actually interested in what I was saying versus, okay, more than half those people did, right? So it's watching those right KPIs. And in my world, and I think the whole insurance world, I think one great one that I learned from Vlad Churchenko was conversations over 10 minutes, right? New conversations over 10 minutes. I love that because if you're talking to somebody, you're really engaging with them. 10 minutes is enough where you're usually discussing, here's what I'm doing, here's this and that, and it's not fluff, right? You
Yeah.
you could build in some fluff, but it's much harder to build in fluff than just saying, "Hey, I got a quote."
I know very few people who can, like in copywriting, we're trained to say a whole lot of something without saying a whole lot of really anything. And so I can write a 16-page sales letter that you feel like you're learning something, but it essentially I taught you nothing. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to like play with people like that. But it's funny because you can go when you see it, when you know you can do it, you can see what politicians do and how they say a whole lot of people are like, well, that person's wrong. It's not that they were wrong, my friend. It's that they were blatantly lying the whole time. So, and then you mentioned KPIs, which is something you don't really hear out there, except from affluent people doing at least a quarter million a year or above in income. It's just it's a different verbiage and language around those people. I remember the first year I made 200, roughly a quarter million dollars my first year in the industry. And I told someone, yeah, I made 250,000. Like, congratulations, young man. You're just stepping into the world of money. And I was like, what do you mean? Just step. I had to like my ego go away for a second. You're telling me there's a level where a quarter million is small, $1 million is small. And that excited me. So I could have just been a little kid and took that as an attack. But it's a different language, so I'm glad you brought that up. And then what are the biggest problems with KPIs? The one I see is they don't track. Like they don't tie the KPI to another thing. If I'm just measuring LTV, I have to compare that with another metric because it gets you to see things that you didn't before. An agent brought Mason, I got my cost per lead down from 30 bucks to $5. Yeah, but everything else went down, which told me you were getting the wrong people. And so I'd rather pay a higher cost per lead and see the conversions double than anything. So where did you kind of learn some of that stuff from? What are the most important KPIs for you to track if you had to pick like three?
So I definitely learned it from failure, right? Because I've stubbed my toes so many times. I've bought in so many leads from every vendor under the sun that told me, "Hey,
Yeah.
he's the latest and greatest." And really, what I get into, like, because I deal at an agency owner level, like helping train agency owners and getting them up and scaling. Really, I've learned that staff is one of the most important pieces, right? Because like we were talking, it's always the KPIs that are hard to fake that are the best KPIs. Because when you have staff member, it's hard to fake a staff member, especially a productive one, right? You can get somebody licensed on paper, but in our industry, if they're getting licensed and going through all that trouble just to be on paper, you're causing yourself more problems than you are, right? You're better to have a good, productive body in the agency working. I think another one for me at a agency owner level is cost per acquisition of customer, so CAC, if you will.
Number one thing to track.
Oh yeah, because agency owners that I hear talk about that, like, oh, I'm like, okay, you must be probably writing 500K, 900K premium a month, or, and you can tell versus the guy that's like, okay, well, our close rate is this, and close rate's good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't tell the whole story, like you're saying. Like it bleeds into, okay, this lead cost $50 or this cost $100. What's that mean in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, and if you look at how most humans are, we typically focus on what we lack. And what that means is it's always with our language. It's not that we lie on purpose, but we lie by omission. It's always lies by omission. So the close rate, it's like, what am I not? What is this covering up? What is this masquerading? What am I not seeing here that should be on the map? What's the topography of the area? I remember a guy named Mark Joyner talking about the most important part of a leader or a like a general in war is the ability to see the battlefield clearly. You can't have fog and all that shit. The fog is the close rate and all these band-aids that we patch, right? But just getting down to know it cost us this much to acquire a customer, and we're currently spending. Oh, well, geez, Keith, I guess if we want to get two customers today and they both cost us $500 a piece, maybe we should go spend $1,000. Wow, what a great way to run a business. Never hear any agents talk about it.
Right.
It's just not taught. You know what's taught in big companies out of 10,000 producers, you have 50 of them actually doing anything. And then it's the same 20, 30 agents on the leaderboards every week, always talking about submit, creates false comparisons. People say, well, I'm not doing 100K of I'm sorry, good business a month. Something must be, I must be a terrible human, and it's sad. So this ties really well into what you're passionate about, which is this idea of scaling an agency with like lead acquisition. Give us some. Give us some of your special sauce on that, Keith.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the person working them, right? So we just talked about cost per acquisition of customer. Within an agency, one thing I really key on is return per producer. Because if you and I work the same leads, heck, you might be a much better salesperson. You might be working a dead list, and I might be getting live calls. I might be closing nothing. You might be closing everything, just warming up a conversation, right? And knowing what your producer's capabilities are is so huge because if you're able to empower them, get them in better situations more often, right? Eliminate the dead time or the dead work, if you will. Man, you can make a machine out of it more and more and more and really empower people, right? You can take people from almost no insurance experience at all to, okay, now I know how to do this at a high level. And a lot of them, as you see them gain the confidence too, they want to own their own business. They want to get involved in this at an even more extreme level. So whether I know some companies offer partnerships, things of that nature, there's so many ways you can do it. And it excites me all the different permutations because I see these people go from, oh, I don't know if I can even do this to, well, yeah, like in 5 months of anybody
They
can do this.
they act like they were always good at it after five. That's natural human nature. Like Keith, I never needed you to begin with. I've always been great at sales. Like, no, you weren't, but I'll give it to you. So it's always funny. Humans are very ungrateful. We remember when we do stuff, but man, it's like husbands and wives. The 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 husband will take the trash out or something, and the one day he doesn't, the wife notices or some shit. It's so funny. And the one day she doesn't help him, we never really focus on what other people do. And you mentioned something really good about tracking revenue per producer, and you can like how do you track things like this? You start going into, hey, so and so, what have you noticed on all of your best calls? What are the three things that were always there? And how can we recreate more situations? Like, well, I noticed on all my best calls, Keith, the ones that I closed the best when I was on fire, they all laughed within the first 3 minutes. Wow, okay, so if I get them to laugh in the first 3 minutes, I'm more likely to close the sale. What else did you do, Keith? I asked them this specific question right here in this specific tonality, and they'd have that aha moment. Like, there you go. Just go do it on every call. Watch your closing rate blow up, and we'll both make money. So I'm really glad you're meant. This is some really good stuff. And what else can they do to get more money out of the leads they already have? Because a lot of agents just sit out there. They think they need more leads, and I tell them, listen, before you go blow a bunch of money on new leads just because someone told you to, who's not even where they want to be in life, understand what you're doing. All you're doing is increasing the number of people already not giving you money. And not only that, you're paying for that to happen. And they're like, well, that's stupid. Yeah, why are you doing it?
Oh, yeah. I would say it's different forms of communication too, right? Because we live in such an age where everybody communicates differently, right? I think there's a whole generation on text, like you're saying. There's a whole generation that heck, they won't text it. They'll text you back, call me. Like, okay.
That's me. What do you want? Yeah, give me a call.
And then there's a whole another type of person that, hey, they probably live under a rock and they want to be emailed all the time. So I call it CTE. You want to make sure call, text, email everybody that you got. There's even devices out there like BombBomb. I'm a big fan of that video, like use your face and you can basically send an email and you can track when it opens and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of that because anytime you can give yourself what I call more weapons, like your voice inflection, they can see you, right? They can hear you talk. If you can even go picture in picture, hey, go through the proposal, it's way better than that other insurance agent out there that's just like, oh, let me know your thoughts, and they send over the proposal, right?
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that, and most of our industry is doing it. If you're able to separate yourself by just using yourself, right? That's huge.
It's unreal how bad you can be in this industry and how much money you can still make for even the worst agents. Simply if you learn to ask questions in the right way, you'll be light years ahead because you already established a huge gap compared to like, hey, I was willing to admit that because I'm a human, I make mistakes and I need to learn to grow to be better. Most people aren't willing to make that false admittance, right? That something has to change because what does that say about them that I suck? Well, you know what? I sucked until I didn't. And I'm sure you're the same way, Keith. You sucked until you didn't, right?
Oh yeah.
First step was like, whoa, man, feels like I'm walking into a tornado. And the second one, you're like, oh, this isn't too bad now. Then you trip and get back up, and it's like it's so fun. So Keith, this has been really valuable for the agents and agency owners listening who want to learn more about what you do. Tell us who's a good fit to work with you and how they can get in touch.
Yeah, anybody that's looking to either break into insurance or own an agency eventually in Minnesota, I work with a lot of people that are just getting started. I work with experienced people. When it comes down to it, my number is 518-951-9483. My email is kcollins2 at Farmers Agent. Open book. I love to talk shop like this too. So if you're wanting to talk shop and you're with a different company and you're like, hey, what are you seeing here, there? Like I talk to friends all over our industry. So I love this type of thing.
Well, that's fantastic. We're going to wrap up here. You guys go comment down below. Tell Keith Collins a great job on talking about lead acquisition for you guys and sharing his insights on what it actually takes to scale and getting around people with better verbiage and better models of the world. Because I promise you, it's impossible to fail in environments like that, especially if you're a dude. Because if you hang out with better dudes, you're going to say, well, shit, I can't be the dumbest one here. And you're naturally just going to get better. I don't know a better way to change. You want to get strong, go find the biggest people in the gym, right, Keith? Go work
Absolutely.
out, do whatever they're doing, except unless they're injected, then don't. For those of you interested in learning more about Keith Collins, go message him at the number he provided. I'll host all of his social media links down below in the description for you to click at one tap of the thumb or your index finger, whichever one you use to tap stuff, and go click on him, send him a message, book a call with him, join his agency, or just go talk shop. If you'd like to be a guest on Policy and Profit, we're always looking for successful agents and agency owners doing at least 10K a month in commissions who have unique strategies, insights, and stories to tell. You can apply at the link down below at the description or the pin link in the comments. And one more time, if you want to stop chasing leads and start booking qualified appointments with people who actually want to buy insurance, grab our free booked and banked blueprint at writemorepolicies.com/blueprint. Until next time, keep building that commission machine, my friend. Keith, you crushed it,
Awesome.
dude. That was a
Well,
badass
thank you.
conversation, man.